Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses, and this is part 3 and the conclusion of The Lost Word Found in the Great Work, Magnum Opus, by J.D. Buck, 32nd Degree. We'll be continuing where we left off in part 2. But this is real Masonry, and this serious aspect being true, the penalty thus paid by the writer for finding some few glimpses of the truth and endeavoring to help others to find the same is small indeed, much as he values the respect of his fellow craftsmen. It would be perfectly legitimate for the student to inquire, what evidence have you that the great school and any real masters exist at all? Passing by the traditions of the lodge and the philosophy of Masonic symbolism for the moment, I'm ready to admit that the man and the account he gives of the existence and present status of the great school must fit the bill. The man himself must be required to show his credentials, not in high-sounding titles, patents, and mysterious characters signed by we know not whom. But his credentials must be of manhood and mastership intrinsically possessed, of character, of wisdom, of beneficence, and of loving kindness. Are not these the designs on the trestle board? And is not the real Grand Master one who can furnish them at sight or on demand? Oh, that any man exhibiting such credentials, and so representing the great school, is worthy of and entitled to a very careful consideration, a conscientious examination to see if he really fit the bill. In the first place, does he seek notoriety? Is he out for graft? Has he anything to gain personally? Does he seek to exploit us? Has he unworthy ulterior motives? These are all intelligent and legitimate questions, and he who does not ask them is likely to be deceived any day by any mere pretender, just as scores of people are deceived and imposed on every day. We have one possessed of the signs of the master in the author of the great work. That great work is in his trestle board, the designs therein revealed, and the plans for the construction of the temple of the human soul therein set forth are sufficiently clear, intelligent, and explicit to enable any intelligent man, particularly if he be a just and upright Mason, to judge and measure his work. The book was written beyond all question with this identical design and for this specific purpose, and knowing the man as I do, and having the honor and the blessedness of 5 years of acquaintance and intimate association with him and study under him, I am entirely satisfied that he is prepared to stand on the record made in the great work. By his work we may know him, and by the account therein plainly and specifically set forth may we judge of the great school, the school of natural science, from which he claimed to have received his instruction, and which he finds it his privilege and duty to represent at the present time. His message is addressed to the progressive intelligence of the age in its dedication. Here then is not a rumor, nor a fad, nor a thing easily to be thrust aside, but cold type, concise statements, deliberate proportions made in good English, and revealing educated, intelligent, and sincerely on every page. Nothing like it can be found in the annals of Freemasonry. It is unique, it stands alone, it commands respect, and is bound, soon or late, to record the judgment of every intelligent and sincere man, every just and upright Mason in the world. Whether the individual Mason shall repeat hearsay opinions, pro or con, whether he shall approve or accept or disapprove and condemn after a careful reading, is not here and now a matter to be considered. The great work will have to be reckoned with. If the propositions contained in this book prove true and acceptable to any large body of the craft, then the future generations by whom the real word of the master is to be recovered and restored is the present generation, and the time has come. If Freemasonry, working with only a substitute, has achieved its present status and worldwide beneficence, what may justly be anticipated and confidently expected of it, when it shall have been rehabilitated and restored to its ancient wisdom and grandeur? The fraternity is deliberately challenged to just this issue in the great work. It has been shown that Masonry concerns itself with the human soul and the building of individual character by personal effort. This constitutes the entire genius of the initiation in Freemasonry. Modern science is just at the threshold of real knowledge of psychology and now postulates the human soul as an empirical fact. So-called psychological science is still testing phenomena and gathering more data with no definite theorem in sight. Spiritualism has demonstrated the existence of a mass of verified phenomena outside of physics and kinetics and has extended the boundaries of the consciousness, a plane above supraliminal and the plane below subliminal that previously recognized. The various religions of the day reaffirm the old belief in the existence and immortality of the soul, while among both believers and preachers are found many who disbelieve or deny altogether, or claim that definite knowledge is impossible. Under all these conditions and signs of the time, here comes one who declares that the human soul is a fact. There is no death, but transition only. Man may become master of life and death, and thus demonstrate his power to travel in foreign countries. That is, outside the physical body, and so demonstrate the persistence of the soul after the change called death. Meantime, it is shown that the method of accomplishing the great work of all ages is but the fruition, the reward, the legitimate consummation of the building of character by personal effort, as illustrated and exemplified in initiation into the Masonic Lodge. It is the legitimate reward of real mastership and but the normal higher evolution of man under natural law. Fortunately for man, the historical enemy of Freemasonry and individual liberty cannot suppress the book, the great work, and persecution of its author or condemnation and expurgation of the book itself would only sustain the writer and advertise his work and impel thousands of otherwise indifferent to read it. The modern historical enemy of Freemasonry and human liberty is not that kind of fool. It is therefore a question which Freemasonry alone can determine whether they have interest enough to examine the intrinsic evidence in the favor of the claims of the great work, as hundreds of the most intelligent men and women outside the craft are already doing with the most satisfactory results and the most unqualified appreciation and approval. The message and appeal are peculiar to Freemasons for reasons already shown, and it remains to be determined whether it shall again be recorded. He came to his own, and his own received him not. One thing is certain, the message is out for all time. Nothing short of a cataclysm can now suppress it. The active enemy of human liberty may destroy our free schools and unite with Mammon to oppress the poor, but it will never be able to sophisticate the great work, nor deprive the intellectual seeker for truth of his natural and divine birthright, nor compel him to do penance for daring to exercise his freedom and learn his immortal destiny as a man. They are slaves who will not speak for the fallen and the weak. They are slaves who dare not be in the right with two or three. The warfare of the ages has focalized at last on a tremendous scale in this 20th century. And in these United States of America, poverty and wealth, labor and capitalism, socialism and despotism, cooperation and competition, Freemasonry and clericalism. These are but the battalions, the divisions, the corps of seemingly hostile legions arrayed against each other. Back of and beyond all of these surface struggles and these warring armies lies the essential problem of human life. Other armies fight for temporal power and earthly domain, but the issue between materialism and spiritualism goes to the very heart of things. All other warfare is waged to determine how man shall live here, the ways and the means, the comfort and the welfare of the many, the whole, or only the few. But in the real issue, the real question is whether man shall live at all. Is he an ephemeral phenomenon, a passing show? Or is his life real and enduring? Does he survive the cataclysms of time? Does he inherit the kingdom of heaven? May he achieve immortality? A large majority of reputedly intelligent persons will answer unhesitantly, nobody knows, ever did know, or ever can know. Those are things which belong to the unknowable. It is again this agnostic Gnosticism, this dogmatic nihilism, against which Sir Oliver Lodge, the great physical scientist, in the name of science protests. Modern thought and the more advanced scientists have worked up to this point and found an open door. Though aside from subjective phenomena, mediumship, they have no exact theorem. They do not know how to proceed. This exact and definite theorem challenges them in the great work. Think for a moment what it would mean to the toiling, sorrowing, hoping, and inspiring children of men. Could an exact, definite, demonstrable, and affirmative answer be given to the question of the ages? If a man dies, shall he live again? Think what it also would mean if that affirmative answer could tell us where and how and under what conditions life persists beyond the grave, and exactly how conditions and the life lived here determine the conditions of life there. Is it not worthwhile? This is precisely the question treated in the great work. We sorely need genuine spiritual knowledge to illuminate the dark places of the present life, to give the real meaning of life, not from the vicissitudes of 80 years and 10, which is even now far beyond the average, but with the vistas of 1,000 years, plane after plane revealed with plane after plane beyond. And this knowledge comes in the present aids peculiar to Freemasonry, because the craft is duly and truly prepared to nourish the tradition, preserve the landmarks, and ready to receive it and not scout it, and turn it away when the world sorely needs it, and the times seem propitious for its revelation. It comes to our fraternity with the hopeful assurance that here it will surely find some who are ready to receive it and pass it on from mouth to ear as they receive it, instead of crying, "Away with it, crucify it." In Galilee, there were only a few fishermen and the poor who listened gladly. In America today, there are said to be over 2 million just and upright Masons. How would they listen? Would they recognize the designs on the trestle board? Would they pass from darkness to light? Will they still the confusion? Or will they, as did the craftsmen of old, hide in the caves of ignorance and be judged at last by the imprecations from their own mouths? Oh, that I had only known! Will the listening ear and the faithful breast receive the instruction? Alas, who can tell? And this great work is only the beginning, the first lesson. More is ready to follow. Until the present time, the world had no nomenclature, no language in which the things of the Spirit could be conveyed to the children of men. Paul saw things impossible to utter. No one would understand him. The world had to wake up to it, and now the time has come. It is not now the inability to apprehend as it was then. Today nothing can bar the way but the unwillingness to listen. The crass materialism that prejudges, scouts, and denies without examination. There will be today no fudging a payroll. Each will get exactly what he has earned, for it all depends on himself. An angel from heaven could not compel him to listen, and no real master is likely to try, for he knows how useless it would be. He simply finds the listening ear and the faithful breast among other degrees of intelligence. Reference is made here to the School of Natural Science, which deals only with cold, hard facts, to the great work and to the real master now among us. No one is asked to believe. All are invited to investigate, to examine carefully, as the present writer has done, and then to reject or accept according to evidence and their own unbiased judgment. Otherwise, and without such examination, any conclusion to which they may arrive is utterly worthless, either to themselves or others, as it could be only prejudice, due to credulity or incredulity, neither of which has ever yet led men to light and knowledge. There was indeed a grand Masonic word, the grandest word in truth, of which the human intelligence can conceive. But it was not a mere syllabic word, capable of being given and received by men of inferior intelligence or impure lives. It was the grand Masonic word of instruction in the spiritual wisdom of the masters. It could be given by none but a master of the great school, and received by none but him who was duly and truly prepared, worthy and well qualified to become such a master. Many there are who have sought to unravel this great mystery. To this end, great libraries have been written, only to bury the lost word more deeply beneath the rubbish of the temple. And that concludes The Lost Word. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment.